Ring, 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 hero simps and virgins
Don't say it.
and peasants.
Oh my fucking god.
And welcome back to Krown's magical. We're poor again, Ken.
We're poor again. I mean, we are poor again. Bitcoin's below 38,000 bucks, and it's never been worse, baby. Unless if you came into this market a few years ago and you realize, holy shit, we're still like, almost 10x off of those lows from 2018. In fucking insane. But I do understand for the people who are a little bit newer here in this market cycle, might be a bit more gut wrenching with that. Anyways, perspective is everything as always, and there is plenty to talk about today with the big event coming today as well. And Bitcoin's above 38,000. Holy shit, we're not poor anymore. Oh my god, I can afford lentils again. Wait, what the fuck is that? We don't eat none of that bullshit over here. Only meat, baby. Only fucking meat and fruit, at least for myself. Anyways, wishing everyone a nice and happy and peaceful. Yes, peaceful is the goal here. Morning from Helsinki, Finland. It's nice and sunny outside, so everything's all good. I see Nikki Page is in the house. Good morning to you, peasants. Please read the pin. Whoa, holy fuck! I do not endorse this sort of castrating behavior. I really don't like where this is going. What the fuck? Anyways, Nikki, what? I expect better from you. Anyways, Crypto, good morning to you, man. Reef Keepers, Megto, Biologic, Ken Fam. I see a lot of familiar faces yet again. This is good, man. Capo Tico, there he is. Hey, man, I've been enjoying reading your stuff in the Discord. It's good to see another person kind of really become a part of the community there. Tinos, what's up, man? Another OG of the cave. Good to see you, brother. Art Vandalay, a beautiful name. House Mix Play, it's ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And Bear Nutrition, what's up, man? Good morning to you as well, my friend. Good fucking morning to you, Matador MC, the Wrecked Anthem, yeah. The Chinggis, Crypto Med. We got Justin Young, Sinegra, there he is. Do you use, he's asking, do you use Bybit options or Tua Liquid? It's Tua Liquid for now. I suspect that it will pick up over time. Actually, let me just see what it even is doing right now. I'm curious. But last I checked, there was like basically no bid, no offer on most, on most strikes. So it's not really relevant. I'm looking right now, and it looks like it's picked up a little bit, but still, I mean, I'm looking at like the most traded strike for today, and I think there's like 44 traded options. I mean, that's absolutely nothing. So, yeah, I think it's still, it's going to take some time to pick up, but for the first like week or two of operation, not bad. Definitely not bad, but I'd be waiting for that to pick up a lot more. I'm just looking at the spreads right now too, and they're actually reasonably tight. They're actually reasonably tight, to be fair, especially at the money. Yeah, actually only $20 spread for the $37,000 call strikes right there. Yeah, interesting. Anyways, I probably won't get into it for a while, but maybe I would imagine maybe around like midsummer or so. That's when this one probably starts to pick up. So far so good. Can't ask for more than what we've been given. And I'm just reading another comment in the Discord over here. Sam Fragosi is saying, Krown, bring up the moons on today's stream for your Bitcoin analysis. And I just realized, or what I'm guessing, is that we have a downside bear moon. Holy fuck, man, that couldn't be worse. Of course, the moons know everything. Crypto, Chrissy, Willis, the SEC. Sanaz, good morning to you. Holy shit. And Lillian H, good morning to you as well. The fam is all here. Rowdy a train. Yeah, man. So I need to sip on some of this more coffee. I know that pisses some people off, so please understand that if you're just here for the content, we'll as always post it as a singular video in about 4 to 5 hours after the end of the stream, or if you can if you can wait for another like 10 minutes, then that's probably gonna be okay as well. Elsa says to talk to the manager. That's right. You can also contact the CEO of Bitcoin and request whatever sort of refund that you might be getting on your free time as well. What? Timing out, Sam. Sam's right there. Hey, what's up, Poria? Holy shit, man. Wow. Yeah, we have some serious OGs in the house. J-Dog as well, but the moon is such a moon boy indeed. I'm a moon boy. I look at the moons. That's right. They're outside and they're doing something at least, or at least I do figure after the, you know what, let's actually look at this together. I don't really want to include this into my video analysis, but I'm just curious to see. I think it's this one right here, time, fib, and volatility. I think it's on this chart where we actually do have the moon phases charted out. Yeah. And what do we got? We do not have a, hold on, let's go to a daily actually. I think it needs to be on a daily specifically. No, we do have a downside move. We got the bear on moon going on right there. Has it been good recently is the real question. Okay, got the highs, got a nice little pump right there, I guess, you know. That was actually the bear market pump to the 200 simple, to be fair. So yeah, that actually did work. Upside right there, downside right there, upside right there, somewhat downside right there. I mean, fuck, man, these things are still actually working rather well. That is bizarre. That is so fucking bizarre. I don't know how to explain that, man. I don't know how to explain that, but it doesn't need explaining. At the end of the day, this would be, I suppose, if you do want to backtest it, actually probably have an even better than 84% result in the past couple of years now. I do remember last time I looked at it, I think it was just over 83, 84, something like that. So it looks like the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 iterations have also been hits. That's going to bring up the hit rate actually quite a fair bit. That's interesting. What's up? Charles Fox says, stupid moon indeed. Cardamom coffee. That actually sounds good. E loves pizza says, hey, how's the food in Finland? I wouldn't know, man. I only eat the beef here, but I can tell you this: they have really good food quality standards here, and even just like eggs, for example, even eggs in Finland are completely different than America. At least from where, I've lived in multiple places in America. I can say it's different than pretty much everywhere. You know, in America, when you get like when you get eggs, even like the fucking, you know, the ones that are supposed to be really good for you and like they're free range and they, you know, were petted at night and they were like treated, you know, like animals instead of just like, means to an end. You know, the yolk that comes with those eggs, it's yellow. It's yellow as if it was like plastic. And I mean, you know, it even smells like fucking sulfur too. But here, when you buy the eggs, man, the eggs, just even like the egg shell, when it's in the carton, it has like sometimes feathers on it from the fucking chicken, I guess, or hen, is that right? The hen. And sometimes you even see like little chicken poop on top of it as well. And then when you crack it open, it's difficult to crack open. Like these things, you really have to force them down onto the counter is how I crack them. Sometimes even do too much force and then it just explodes all over and then it's very frustrating. But then you look at the yolk, man, and it's not just yellow, it's like this more orangish, maybe even reddish color or shade of yellow. It's really, really interesting, man. And it does taste different. As does the general meat as well. You know, I think that just the factory farming that goes on in America probably makes for a less healthy result. Let me, I'm gonna have a lot of caffeine over here. Let me just get my thingies set up over here. If you feed chickens their eggshells, it makes their shells even stronger. That makes sense. I mean, apparently eggshells are actually a really good source of, I believe, calcium, if that serves me correctly, or memory serves me correctly. Can you go get an egg and show us the inside? It's going to be rather difficult to do that on video here. I suppose we could. There's plenty over on the counter over there that I just bought. Yeah, that's what wait, what? They eat tarantulas? What the fuck? What the actual fuck? I guess those are full of protein, so it can't be that bad. Yeah, anyways, let me just see. What sort of housekeeping things do I have for today? Yeah, as always, I want to point out on the Krown Chain application, we got the trading journal now running with almost full steam. We got a few more updates coming alongside this with I don't know, probably in the next few weeks here. But so far, so good. I just want to point this out. You can use this on the free accounts, of course. And then if you do want to have like more journals and just be able to add more trades, because, you know, obviously this does have like hosting costs and whatnot, then that will require premium. But the base functionality is certainly free, as are most things on the Krown Trading application. And yeah, it's there for you right now. It can now record all sorts of different things along with your shorts, longs, the total for those, and then the average P&L for the wins, average P&L for the losses, the duration of the trades also split by wins and losses as well, and then your average like actual nominal P&L also split by wins and losses, and then a total on that as well. So to me, this is going to be absolutely fucking critical. Especially in the coming months when it is fully completed, to be doing my actual back testing there. It's just going to be more streamlined, and you'll also be able to, you know, show other people, if you want to show other people your journals, and be able to keep track of your journals in the My Journals tab over here, of which I right now have 3, as I'm actually working on this for a program that I'm going to be building. I don't know if it's going to be relevant to anyone or not. But basically, it's going to be like a live trade, or it's going to be me live trading on the program, but they're going to be pre-recorded, obviously, because, you have to kind of avoid those sort of issues with, being looked at as financial advice, right? But then basically the idea is I want to show some of the strategies that I work off of, how I back test them, how I forwards test them, and then show those trades in real live time. And I actually just started recording some of the trades yesterday, and the weirdest fucking thing happened. The weirdest thing happened, but the most likely thing happened, which is strange. But I was looking at it, and I had this trade that it was a loss. It was actually a loss, and on average for my backtesting results, the losing trades were supposed to take about 46 minutes on average. That one took 45 minutes exactly, and it was a loss of negative 0.27% on average from my back testing. That's exactly where it fucking closed on that loss too. It's crazy, man. It actually works. It actually fucking works when you test it out. Insane. Anyways, a few more sippy sips over here. Yeah, that's what I figured, Black Hawk. Those chickens are being fed like real food. Yeah, the journal feature is absolutely brilliant. I'm glad that you're enjoying it, man. This is really what I want to hammer onto the app. So, right now the app is like kind of a general thing, right? And it's like the jack of all trades, but master of none. But the journal is where I really want to go hard. So I'm working with the team very closely on that one, and I'm really, 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 really excited for the things that we'll be able to do. I mean, in the future, we're going to be able to like break down what time of day do these trades come at, and can you break down like, oh, maybe at this time of day or this day just in particular doesn't really work for my strategy for whatever reason. It could be that it's a weekend, or that it's a Tuesday, Wednesday, stuff like that. You'll be able to really go into like more forensic analysis on your sort of statistics, which for me is going to be a big leg up over the Excel spreadsheets that I currently use. So yeah, that'll be big time. Hey, what's up, Dodgymon? Been a while, man. I feed my chickens high protein dog food. It's actually probably like good for them, huh? It's all relative, right? If you're a chicken, dog food probably pretty fucking good. All right, I'm almost ready over here. Just want to reference my notes. Yeah, we got a big event today, obviously, the FOMC. The FOMC meeting itself is probably not going to be like that big of a deal. It's basically baked in right now that there's going to be a 50% rate hike. What matters though, and what people really get wrong about this, it's maybe a bit of a nuance here, but what people really get wrong about it, at least in my opinion, is that what matters is the conference call that happens right after the FOMC meeting, where they kind of give their forwards outlook and what they're thinking and kind of how things might have changed. And then I think next week we have another inflation print, or maybe it's Friday. Let me make sure you reference my, I have it over here on my calendar. Let's just see. Ooh, excuse me. Let's see. Unemployment's actually Friday. Yeah, and then the next big event's going to be May 11th. That's going to be the next CPI. Hopefully, for everyone's sake, that's below 8.5%. But even then, like when you start to look into the way that the CPIs and in the inflation, generally speaking, is calculated, it's not accurate, or it's certainly not a direct measurement of fucking inflation. Like, it would make most sense to me to just measure everything. But then again, maybe that's not relevant to everyone. But the CPI is really relevant for like people who, don't really have assets, to be quite frank. But even for those people, it's like 8.5%. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ. That's just going to be eaten into money like no tomorrow. And these are things that like I didn't even learn about until recently, really. So for me, maybe I'm just playing catch up, but man, I'm sure that people are going to start to notice when they start to see their food prices go up like 20-30% overnight, because I know that that's what's happened exactly here. And, people already live on somewhat thin margins, I do expect. Anyways, because we're all peasants. That's right, man. Hello from North Korea. I love you from North Korea. Holy shit, man. You guys, it's the one internet user in North Korea. Amazing, man. Fucking amazing. You're trailblazing, brother. It's incredible. Hoard food. I don't know if it's I don't know if there's like legitimacy to the big fears surrounding that right now. I do understand that definitely prices are going up and everything, but I don't know, man. It's we've always heard these things like gas is is going out. I've heard that like ever since 2000 basically. Now we got food and everything. I haven't really seen it. You know, when Rona came around, everyone was fucking hoarding toilet paper. I'm just a little bit averse to listening to that. But then again, perhaps that's at my own demise now, isn't it? Because you don't need it until you fucking need it. And it only takes one time to get fucked up. Where to buy trend cows? Wait, what? I need a roll in a day, says Elsa. That is true. That is true indeed. I took a lot of magnesium, so I'm going to be pooping out like a fucking water faucet. Okay. All right. Shit hitting the fan in China. I have heard that as well, but the problem is that I never really feel like the information that I get out of China is it's always hard to trust, not because you know, they're like intrinsically deceptive, although some people might argue that, but for me it's like the language as it gets translated, you'll notice that many people have slightly different translations and it completely changes the meaning of the message. So for me, it's kind of hard to trust. Bidets are the future. They're amazing, man. I can't fucking believe that I lived, you know, more than 25 years of my life without a goddamn regular bidet. Holy fuck, man. It is disgusting. Absolutely fucking disgusting in America that we do not have bidets. For real. Like, we shake hands with each other and we don't have bidets. It's insane. When I come over here to Finland, we got saunas, we got bidets, okay? It's amazing. It's fucking amazing. We're clean, all right? We're not walking around with little poop particles on our hands, just washing our face and fucking doing all this and, you know, touching each other with. It's disgusting, man. It's fucking gross. Like, get bidet. Get a fucking bidet. Look, I don't care what you say. If you rubbed if a piece of poop got on your face, okay? If it got on your face somehow, would you just take a piece of toilet paper and wipe it off and be like, all good, it's fine now? It's like, no, man, you'd be rubbing that with water, with soap, with all sorts of stuff, because ain't nobody want poop on their face, or I imagine so. When shoes, Joe Bidet. Joe Bidet. That is funny. That is funny. All right, I think we're just about there. Okay, now how do I want to position this? Yes, we're going to start off short term. We'll go into the long term. Nothing really changed there. So let's jump into it right now with Bitcoin. We got a big event today, obviously with the FOMC. And whenever a big event does come, I do look at the big levels essentially, because we do expect kind of violent price action heading into a meeting like that. And realistically, it's not the actual meeting that's probably going to matter. What's really going to matter most is, of course, the conference call that happens afterwards, where, you know, the members kind of give their forwards outlooks and whatnot. Anyways, to boil it down into hopefully the most simplistic analysis right here for the higher term timeframes, as long as Bitcoin is especially below the monthly 20 simple, or even just below last month's high, I do look at this as a lot more likely to trade to the downside here over the next month to month and a half, based off of several things. In this case, could we see a quick wick up to maybe even $41,500 today, if there's some sort of, you know, weird stuff going on with the FOMC? Yeah, definitely possible. I'm not saying that that's likely to happen, but that could very much happen. However, I do want to now focus on the short-term timeframes with that in mind, expecting that, hey, during a meeting like that, you are expected to get some pretty, you know, volatile price action, and, you know, shit can get weird. But at the end of the day, it's about where things close. And if we are going to use some technicals as, of course, an edge, the short-term timeframes are presenting a bit of a case right here. So I do want to bring you over here into the Krown trading application. And first and foremost, I want to denote note that the lower term time frame, the hourly feed for global open interest, has actually shown an addition of almost 1 billion positions overnight. We went from yesterday, the 3rd, from about 12.37 billion open interest to now at around 13.14 billion. So almost 1 billion in one day added leading up to an event like this. And for what it's worth, when we do check out funny rates, we are getting positive funny rates. You know, I would even say significantly positive funny rates, because if you want a general understanding of funny rates, a really good rule of thumb is that trend versus funding rates can provide a pretty damn good edge, especially in the short term. When you see a downtrend like we're in right now, positive funding rates typically are met by lower highs. Vice versa for uptrends. When you get an uptrend and you get low funding rates or especially negative funding rates, that is a good signal that it is a nice low. And people kind of get mixed up with this because they will apply the uptrend sort of philosophy within the concept of a downtrend. Obviously, that's not going to have very good results. But in this case, we see that the daily is showing at 0.01%, which is, some of the highest rates that we've seen even in the past couple months actually. If we go down to the hourly, it will show a little bit lower than that, 0.06%, but both of these do suggest a little bit more downside pressure in the short term within the context of our current ranges. So let's go into it right now. As far as the actual charts go, and what do we see? We see a few other things actually as well that do suggest that today is really going to be fraught with some pretty volatile price action. BBWP, measuring volatility on pretty much all time frames, is in pretty contracted regions here. For right now, the 4-hour is around about 31.5 percentile. Compare that with a daily, which is literally at 7.5 percentile right here. By the way, we're going to go over big daily signal that's been baking for a while. It's been in progress for the last week or so, and it's still very much active actually. Anyways, 12 hours going to be showing 12 spot 30 percentile, and I just kind of want to short up right there in the sense that, hey, we're very likely looking at a big move coming. Personally speaking, I do think that this is going to be the big one for the 5-day, as we do see the 5-day close today for CME and also tomorrow for spot price action. In this case, if it closes anything like this, then I will confirm that as the full-on 5-day signal getting going, and from that sort of precipice, the next 40 to 45-ish days, I do expect about a 45% move, in this case likely to the downside. If we go over here in reference to 5-day RSI, this signal has not gone away. 5-day and weekly both showing the same thing with hidden bearish divergence. We've obviously already hit the easy targets on that. The next target to the downside would be about 34-ish, give or take about $500 from that number. Anyways, if we go back into the short-term timeframes over here and reference these ranges, and we'll come up with the range resolutions in a second, which basically, based off the fibs, I would say it's about $39,000 to the upside versus about $37,000 to the downside, the same area that we've kind of been working off of. And also kind of our targeted region from yesterday, there's not really anything to be aware of until we actually break that for the short term. Above $39,000, I do look for Bitcoin to put in a big rally up somewhere around 41,000 actually, somewhere between about 40,500 to 41,000-ish region. That would just meet the monthly level, to be fair, and at least in my opinion, as long as Bitcoin's below there, heavily bearish long term. By the same token, to the downside, any sort of a range resolution below $37,000, and I would be looking for that next leg down with targets probably, I guess around 35-ish, give or take, probably more like 36, a stop along there in the short-term timeframes, but ultimately on a daily, probably looking somewhere more around about 34 to 35. Anyways, in this case, we should reference lower-term timeframe stochastic momentum, and you will notice several things over here. 4-hour stochastic momentum is downside angled as long as Bitcoin's below 38,500, so downside pressure as long as Bitcoin is below there. 12-hour is also showing downside pressure with any sort of a closure on the next one below 38,150. 6-hour is going to be showing downside below about 38.3, and 3-hour is going to be showing a loading screen, but downside below about $38,000. So a lot of things kind of pivoted around that mid $38,000 region. Let's call it 38.5. And I'd go as far to say that in the short term, as long as Bitcoin's basically below that 382 right here, I do look at this as more likely to trade to the downside than the upside. The question is, do we get some violent price action around the FOMC meeting? Definitely. Extremely likely, I should say. Now, here's the thing, and one of the reasons why I continue to have a downside bias for the last, I guess, like a couple months now, really. Basically ever since, like a big one ever since here. That was kind of, in my opinion, the biggest hopium. But one of them was based off of this chart. I think this particular chart is more relevant for today, and then we don't necessarily need to go into the 5-day chart if it's not warranted, but this is the daily volatility versus stochastic chart right here. And what we've noticed about a week ago was we noticed that the daily BBWP was down at basically, for what it's worth, like one digit percentiles, which is incredibly low. These are extreme lows, comparable to what we saw back in January, actually. Now, again, volatility is the measurement of the dispersion of returns, and anytime that we see it very, very low like this, we expect a very violent resolution, which means a breakout or breakdown. Typically, within the case of the last 2 years here that we've measured this out, about a 20% move on average from the expansion of that first move here, which we've actually gotten already. This one is still actually in motion. We identified this about a week ago. We got the first move right here. It's been about, I think, 10% to the downside since. Yeah, almost 10% to the downside. And that would be almost half of what we do kind of expect on that signal. I will be looking for this to continue with downside pressure, and I will have a downside bias based off statistics from this, based off of the daily stochastic momentum oscillator right here. The reason why is because out of the last 10 iterations, not including the one that we currently have right here, but out of the last 10, the daily stochastic momentum has actually gotten the correct direction for 8 out of the last 10. So that is, pretty good results. And if we are going to shave off about 20% off a price action from that expansion time, that would forecast a price somewhere down around around 33,000 bucks or so, give or take a little bit from there. Keep in mind though, because this has been so low for so long, it would be logical to say that this one, the resolution from this compression phase likely is going to be on the higher end of what we have seen throughout these last 10 iterations, which has seen as much as almost 29 to 30% right here on one of the biggest ones. In fact, that was, the formerly lowest one in this case. So ultimately, I can go as far to say that I am heavily downside biased on Bitcoin as long as we're below about 38,350 specifically. That is the daily level right there. Now, of course, you will, or I should bring this back up, you will notice, or you'll very likely notice, that this is already incredibly fucking low. So whenever it's incredibly fucking low, it is difficult to keep up downside momentum. But hey, as long as this condition is met, that downside momentum will still be available right there. So that would, I would go as far to say that if Bitcoin does close today above 38,350, that will be the next sort of hopium signal that we very likely see a rally up, probably around 40, maybe even $41,000 before another try to the downside. Keep in mind, however, that the higher term time frame is still, very much unchanged here. The monthly chart, as we did kind of point out earlier, which, do I want to get into this? Yeah, we can get into this for a second. We do still see the monthly MACD cross to the downside. It's happened 3 times in Bitcoin's history. That combined with PMAR, which we've already seen that, but that combined with the white 20 simple closing below that on a monthly schedule, like you see right here, like you see right here, like you see right here, and like right here as well, has led each and every time to a move at minimum to the green moving average here, which is a 55 exponential. That's actually significantly further down at around about $25,000 or so. So I do think, like, what worst case scenario long term is probably somewhere down around there. Can it get worse over time? Maybe yes, but we're getting way ahead of ourselves right now, and I don't think that that's going to happen anytime soon. If it even is going to happen, I still remain with the most likely thing to happen here is probably another stab to the downside, and I think the hopium case is something like this. Actually, something like this, where Bitcoin comes back down to those prior weekly lows and then puts in a bit of a higher low, works its way along, and then maybe around like end of summer, early Q4 of 2022, you'd see something like this, confirmed with major upside targets. Probably well past 60,000 bucks over time if Bitcoin does start to close above about $44,000. But that's my line in the sand for the macro. As long as Bitcoin's below there, pressure down essentially, and it's just kind of a game of range resolutions here. Other than that, I forgot to shill my Instagram earlier. Please understand that my only Instagram account is in the link in the description below. Any other Instagram account is a scammer trying to get you to sign up to their fucking whatever the hell it is, who knows. And then also Bybit shill as well. They got a $3,000 or $4,000 deposit bonus. There's also a link in the description as well here. As always, when it comes to these sort of things, please understand that leverage trading is going to be is probably not going to treat you too well. Statistically speaking, 80% of people just lose or never have any like long-term gains. Understand that unless if you've actually backtested your strategy on some sort of a testnet account, which you can definitely do there as well, or on the app for free, then I wouldn't expect good results. So please do be safe and responsible with that. And I think I'll leave it right there. Hopefully that was helpful, sirs and zers. Lovely, man. Yeah, don't get wrecked on leverage, says Derek M. Yeah, I'd say the same thing as well. I do, and for full disclosure, obviously that is an affiliate link, and I have a deal with them, obviously, so that's why I do give them a bit of a shill each and every day, because that is that was our agreement. So yeah, that's fair enough. Anyways, I feel like I missed something over here. No, I think I hit all of the big ones there. Yeah, we got the short term, we got the long term. Yeah, all right, I think that's good right there. And then the real analysis, we got a bear on moon, and it's going to fucking zero. Perhaps not. Obviously, I didn't cover the 5-day chart today, but if you do want a big signal to be looking for by end of day, That would be the 5-day here on specifically CME. This one's going to be closing today. Any sort of a closure, guess where? Below $44,000. Downside pressure remains. And again, we got 15 hours, 29 minutes, and 46 seconds left to go. That doesn't necessarily mean that if Bitcoin closes below there for today's CME daily and 5-day closure, that it immediately goes to fucking zero, obviously. But the downside pressure remains. And I would still say that statistically speaking, a lot more likely to reach those downside targets than reverse on the macro phase here. And for what it's worth, if you want some actual hopium, here's what I think the actual hopium is that the longer that Bitcoin essentially stays within this weekly range, let me actually just redo this because we really only need 2 areas. The weekly range obviously between about 44 to the upside and about really like 34 to the downside. As long as Bitcoin kind of stays within here without breaking to the downside significantly, the 5-day stochastic momentum will actually be kind of interpreted by myself as a bit of a bullish reset, as long as it kind of eats this area up. That would obviously imply that Bitcoin's going to spend a lot of fucking time within this region, but that would be the hopium if I needed to bring up the biggest hopium case that I think is relevant and reasonable to potentially look towards. So if you see something like this where Bitcoin kind of spikes in there, doesn't break and it holds in there for like months, let's say, like this is going to be a while, and then this starts to turn up, that would be a good sign. And you might see something like that. I think that's probably the most reasonable potential hopium that we might see long term. That would also imply that, Bitcoin, even if it ends up being bullish, which I hold my reservations with that, it's probably going to take, months, like not just months, but like at least until beginning of Q4 of this year. I think that's like best case scenario, the most hopium. I'm not obviously when it comes to hopium, you can say all sorts of egregious things. Like I was just reading it on Twitter earlier, there is just such, I'm sorry, but there's just such fucking garbage analysis around, like seriously, just absolute fucking garbage. I'm not trying to like judge anyone. At the same time, like I don't want to judge the person, but I want to judge the analysis. The analysis is garbage. The person, they're just a young person. They don't know, they just don't have that much experience. They haven't really seen too much. And of course, I can be wrong on this. They can be like, look, do you think that is just going to go like that? Probably not. Probably not. Maybe today the FOMC, they say, actually we're gonna not do any interest rate hikes or anything like that, and we're gonna continue to support markets. Then maybe you get something like that. That's a completely different fucking world, obviously. But as of right now, I don't think that that's the most likely thing to be happening, to be quite honest with you. Cool. All right. Okay. Let's see. Let me get rid of this. That's a little bit. I think, again, a little bit unlikely. Cool. RIP stream. Is a stream wrecked? Seems like it's fine. What's the issue, sir? Oh, it is actually giving me a bit of an issue here on the dashboard. I'll just wait until it's been confirmed. I'm actually going to redo my camera here too, because it seems to really be having issues. Must not like the data feed or something. Yeah, the falling wedge bullshit. Look, falling wedges every once in a while will work. Bitcoin bottomed out on a falling wedge over the summer, for example. In my experience, though, falling wedges in crypto have a terrible, terrible hit rate. Not something that I would talk about on, especially like a stream. But is there any validity to that? Yeah, you can fit a falling wedge in there. You can always fit a fucking pattern into basically anything, though. That's kind of the problem with them. Something like this is what you'd be looking at. Yeah, it technically would be in there. How would you confirm a falling wedge with targets up? The problem is that even if you do break to the upside, it doesn't do anything for me on the macro. It just imply around about $41,000. But in order to confirm it would require a closure. Even a 4-hour closure would do it above 39,200. 39,200 would be the magical number right there. At that point, very likely does trade up. And we'd expect to see a lot of bullish divergence if it is going to be available at all. And right now, we didn't really see a lower low on the 4-hour there. What about CME? Did CME do it? Yeah, CME did it. So CME will have it. Yeah, if you want the hopium, CME is going to be it. At least in my opinion. Short term probably does trade up. Very likely north of 38. Does the daily still have it as well? The daily would have it, yes. So, that'd also be a good point of reference as well. So, if you are going to see something like that, daily closure today above about 39. And yeah, I would be looking for a rally up somewhere around about 41 to 41.5 before anything else. Cool. All right, let me pull up the chats over here. And let's see. Holy shit, there's actually quite a fair bit. What the hell? All right, fair enough. Crypto Mo or Crypto Moo says CRV on the hourly, please. Okay, we can check that one out. Let's see what CRV is doing over here. On the hourly specifically, pretty good. I actually would be looking for this one to extend the rally a little bit more towards about 2.25 to 230, somewhere around there. If you're looking at an hourly, very low volatility, a nice uptrend, hourly RSI plus hourly Joule, both showing likely one more leg of continuation, somewhere around about 2.25, I would say, would be invalidated below about 214 and back down probably to the lows. But overall, yeah, I think that this one's maybe got one more spike to the upside. Probably same thing around the general markets as well with Bitcoin and and whatever altcoin that we're probably going to look at today. To be fair, what's up, Mr. Venegas? Sir, FITFI, okay, FITFI. FitFi. Oh my god. Oh my god. Gate.io. All right. Sorry, it's new, but it's similar to GMT. I got it at 32 cents and pulled most of my profit at. I mean, that's a fucking phenomenal trade, man. That's a phenomenal trade. I actually do think that this thing is. I actually think this thing's probably going to try to reaccumulate here. To be fair. I mean, you play the range bit about as perfect as you can, though. You basically bought the lows, you sold the highs. I think that you're probably going to be within this range for a little bit of time, and you're probably going to test the upside of the range, in maybe the short term here. Something like this is what I'd be looking at. But I wouldn't call a breakout to new highs or anything. It's, again, a little bit too new. If we're looking at a full hour, yeah, I mean, I think it probably gives another try up here, but I wouldn't call a breakout to prior. I mean, you literally sold the high. You didn't just sell the range high. You sold the fucking high. You're the rally killer, man. All the FitFi people in here who have gotten wrecked after that move. He's responsible. He's the rally killer. But yeah, any sort of a hourly closure, even above about 57.5 cents, and I would call another move towards highs and probably new all-time highs from there. Other than that, it's just too new of a chart. Obviously, going to be extremely toppy with any sort of a move below about 41 cents. But for right now, a little bit of sideways, probably test the upside again if I had to call it. Is it going down or potentially more upwards so I can buy some back? I don't trade in the middle of the ranges, so I don't have any real opinion on that. To me, that's kind of more gambling than anything. I call upside continuation here to new highs. I call rally over for a long time below here. Until then, man, I don't really have any major ideas with it. I do think you're probably going to test, somewhere around about 55, maybe 60 cents again, though. But that is not the same thing as a breakout. Justin Young says, hi, sir. What's up, man? I see Bybit copy trading is active. When can we expect yours to go online? let me just give all my fucking trades away for free. I don't know if that's in my best interest to be doing, man, to be honest with you. Also, I'd have to talk. What is the advantage for someone to do that is the real question. I'm not sure if I'm going to be a fan of that, simply because, one, it goes against my sort of ethos where I believe that everyone should be doing their own thing and kind of coming together as colleagues. And then two, it's okay, if I were to do that, it's basically managing other people's portfolios. So what would I get in return? I mean, it has to be kind of a give and a take, right? To me, it sounds well, I don't know the full details of it, so I probably shouldn't say anything more. Yeah. Okay, cool. Devin says, why do you only look at Tether out of the stablecoins? Couldn't that cohort's behavior differ from people that choose to use other stablecoins? This is a really good question that I keep on getting. The reason why I look at Tether, if you're looking at, hold on, what do you mean exactly? Do you mean when I'm charting? Well, Tether typically has the most volume and typically the longest running chart, so I'll always chart that. If you're talking about my emphasis on Tether dominance, it's simply because the chart fucking works. It's no more complicated than that. I get people's pushback on what I say here with regards to hey, Krown, shouldn't you consider that we have USDC now and we should look at USDC dominance? No, because it doesn't have as much history, and two, this one is still fucking working, is more importantly. If you were looking at USDC dominance, let's see if we would have had the same sort of bias for downside based off of this. Yeah, to be fair, yeah, we would, but not as long tested, so to me, that's not as useful. I'll still go with Tether dominance until proven otherwise. Yeah, that's really all to say about that, basically. Anthony Waldman says, good morning, sir. Mirror USD 4 and daily. Okay, another nameless altcoin I've never seen before in my life. All right, let me, I guess Binance maybe? Fucking terrible, man. Fucking terrible. 4 hour daily. We have another chart that just goes straight down. Look, if the market generally gets a spike up today, probably looking somewhere around about 140 to 145. But this one is heavily long term, just absolute fucking dog shit bearish. As long as you're below about 220, 2.25 on any respectable time frame closure. For right now, though, you will have some bullish evidence if you do close the daily, basically above about 180 or sorry, 188 in this case. Wait. Oh, sorry, 118. I apologize. That's a massively different number. Other than that, though, man, just an absolute garbage piece of shit chart right here. 4 hour time frame. I mean, it might get one more spike up, but ultimately, the question for me is, where do you find the next lower high? Is it 150 or 140 to 150? Does it get all the way up to like $2? Maybe, but long term, I have no reason to believe that this thing is reversing at all until its minimum back of about 2.25. Just fucking. This is why the market needs to go down. Shit like this. Sorry. Anyways, Dre says KNC USD. Okay, KNC. I know this one was very popular like a week or two ago. Let's see where this one's at. Yeah, another one that's coming down. I do think that you're going to be finding a nice bounce relatively soon, probably somewhere around about $3 or just below $3. And I'd probably be looking for bounces back up somewhere around about maybe even as much as 390 to 4.25 over time if you're on a daily there. But I don't know what time frame you're on because you didn't include a fucking time frame. So god damn it. But short term, one more continuation to the downside, $2.95 to $3. I'd be looking for a bounce there, and then. Personally speaking, I think that you've topped out for a very long time here. So the bounce up to, maybe 390 or maybe even 4.25 very likely does get rejected. And long term, I do look for this one to come down well into the $2 region, somewhere around 220 to 230. You're seeing extremes here on the daily. Like, I think that this one's topped out for a very long time. And the next move up, something like this, is going to be a little bit of a trap and something like that probably. Groove Move says FTM on the 1 hour, please, for my trade. Oh boy. Oh god damn it. Someone's messaging me on TradingView. Sir, for the love of fucking God. Oh my god. I'm in the cave Discord. I want your indicators. They're on the app, man. They're there for you whenever you want. But I can't. It's always weird too because they aren't even under my account's name. I don't think, or at least I certainly don't advertise them as such. It's like I can't even do anything. Just for anyone's knowledge, support handles all of that. I don't handle that. Anyways, FTM hourly is the 5-day looking like a double top on its way. You're asking about an hourly and a 5-day. We can look at it. Is the 5-day looking like a double top and on its way down? I mean. Yeah, it is certainly rolling over there. I mean, this thing, this can be bounced along the way, but I do think that ultimately you're going to find your way towards like $0.50 before a potential low on a higher term time frame. But if you're just asking about an hourly here, I mean, again, I think that this one's short term coming back down to your range lows like 74 cents for what it's worth. But ultimately, you're just seeing a consolidation here. I wouldn't be looking at any sort of a breakout towards like 85 to maybe even 88 cents until you're closing hourlies of about 80.5 cents right here. I think that one's pretty obvious. To the downside, you got your range lows coming in about right here, about 73, 74 cents, and that's where I think you're generally going to be hanging out intraday here and do something like that, and then choose direction on FOMC. Yeah, long term. Yeah, pretty ugly chart here. I understand that this one is kind of fundamentally driven. And again, like these are extremes here. So it really wouldn't be asking for much to get like a greater bounce relatively soon. And if you do close even above the hourly range, I'd probably be looking for the daily to start to trade up and put in a nice constructive bounce. I think 95 cents is certainly not out of the question. Even at like $1.15, $1.20 is within reason, but I would generally just be looking for lower highs. Personally speaking, I do think it's a little bit more likely to, I'd be looking for like the big bounce, if you will, somewhere in the mid to low 50 cent region, which you almost got like 10 cents away from there. David Davian said, or sorry, actually I skipped Dato. No message. Dato, if you could please post a message to Elsa, and then she'll let me know what you want to look at. That's all good. Can you have a look at Power Ledger, says David Davian. I can, man, but again, without timeframes, like I really don't know where you want me to go with on this. So it might not be relevant to you if you don't specify. Let's see. I think Bittrex will actually have the most history because I remember Superman showing this shit like in 2018. I mean, again, absolute fucking garbage here. Whenever you see a 2018 chart that did not get past or even to its 2018 highs, it's just absolute dog shit. And here's the real chart. This is linear. This is what it really looks like. It's ugly. Again, there's going to be bounces along the way, but long term, I wouldn't be surprised at all whatsoever to see this thing back around a quarter, you know, in the coming months. Again, I don't know what time frame you're going off of here, though. I don't know what's relevant to you. Short term, is it more likely to bounce? Yeah, it can very easily bounce to 45 cents. Shit, even like 50 cents if things get crazy. If we go to a full hour, I mean, this thing does not really trade, but look, it's doing like 200 volume in a 4 hour time frame. That's nothing for a 40-cent number. Like, it's less than $200. Yeah, it's kind of nothing. So to me, it's like any sort of a corrective bounce to even 50 cents, just that, a corrective bounce before further continuation to the downside. You know, weekly, are you more likely to bounce here? Probably, yeah. Probably does put in a bit of a bounce here. Monthly, same thing, but I'm just looking for rejections anywhere below 50 cents and very likely next move down to 35, probably another bounce there. And then I think long term it finds maybe a low at 25 cents. But again, I don't know what time frames are relevant to you, man. Super Googly Lee says, hello, sir. I'm still short. Ape, nice. At which point would you be cautious for a bounce on the hourly and 4 hour? Okay, that's a very specific question. Let's see what we can bring up. I'm guessing Binance is the one to go to. Okay. I'd actually be looking for a bounce pretty much here. You know, you hit yeah, I'd be looking for this one to bounce actually pretty much right around here. Maybe one more wick down, slightly lower towards 1369, just these lows that you got from 22nd of April. It's actually played off these ranges incredibly well. Yeah, this one plays very tactically, which is nice. But you're on the 4 hour 200 simple. You're going to start to print, or you have potential to print bullish divergence if you do confirm a local low here, and you will confirm a local low with any sort of, especially an hourly closure above about 1580, but even with an hourly closure above about 1485, and I would be looking for a move up to that 1580-ish region, and then above there, I do look for, you know, a more corrective bounce towards about 17 and a quarter. Yeah, I think that this one's bouncing like somewhere around here. Maybe spikes the lows one more time. Hourly is probably going to have many drives of bullish divergence building up. It does. Technically speaking, in order to confirm it, I'd want to see an hourly at minimum above about 1465, it looks like. But yeah, I think you're very, very close to a bounce there. Yeah, obviously anywhere below about 1360 on any respectable time frame closure, and this the one probably gets sent back down to like its April lows, you know, below $11. But I think that you probably get a bounce here first before any sort of like destructive breakdown. Yeah. Oh, my apologies. Adam Kalane says Kava is close to the $4 mark you mentioned. I've been range trading it successfully with your input. Thoughts moving forwards? Okay, let's check it out. I think we looked at this one on Monday maybe, so I completely forgot what it was doing. Yeah, it's down around about $4. Kind of similar to the last one. You know, when you're at your range lows, more likely to bounce here than not, but bounces are corrective and likely continuation to the downside over time, especially as long as you're below like 460, let alone fucking 485. Let's go reference the timeframes that you're looking at. 6 hour. I think very similar to Ape in this case, you're probably going to spike these lows at like 390 and then probably try for a bounce there. I'm guessing you probably just had hidden bearish divergence. Yeah, you do. And that should probably set up for a third drive of regular bullish divergence on the other side. So, yeah, I'm basically looking for a bounce off of like 385-ish region, and I do think that this one probably gets a corrected bounce, maybe even into the mid fours before potentially having a catastrophic breakdown. Again, long term, like, you know, actually not the worst chart long term. Yeah, it holds its lows and it rallies off that. Yeah, not the worst chart long term, but I think kind of like best case scenario long term is that you're on one massive macro range, right? 569 highs, nice number, versus your lows from like last year, basically at 270. You know, probably going to be something like this long term where you blow. And then if it's going to be bullish, you know, does something like that. If it's going to be bearish, then obviously breaks down. But yeah, short term, I think that you're a lot closer here to a bounce than not. Somewhere around 380 to 390-ish, let's say. And bounce can very easily come up to 450 to 480-ish region. He also asked about a 6 hour. Same thing. Yeah, cool. I think a deal is next. Says Ethereum. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He's yellow. Ethereum, Bitcoin, weekly, monthly. Okay. Yeah, let's actually do a general overview on Ethereum. Let's try this. Okay. Actually, let me turn the volume down on that as well. And you're looking at very high term timeframes. Gotcha. Okay, so I will do a general overview for this one. This one is interesting here. Man, the higher term timeframes, actually, I really don't think I have a good idea on it. If anything, I'd actually be bullish on them for what it's worth. I do think there might be one more move down to 7 million Satoshis even, but yeah, that is weird. Okay, well, let's, in this case, is this even relevant anymore? It is, but we're going to do a long-term analysis on this one. All right, here we have Ethereum versus Bitcoin. We'll also do Ethereum versus the dollar as well. And this is going to be a little bit more of a long-term analysis. Long-term, I'm actually long-term bullish on this chart still. I do think that there can very easily be another move down to about 7 million Satoshis base, but I would be looking for big bounces off there. For right now, for charting the weekly, just basically in one massive range that's been going on for almost a full year now. Actually, a full year basically. Highs and lows right there. Obviously, we got our higher lows coming in somewhere right around here. And so any sort of a move back down around here, I actually do look at that as a likely big bounce area. So until then, you know, sideways is the name of the game within this overall range, anywhere above 8.3 million Satoshis. And I am massively macro bullish for moves probably north of 0.1 Bitcoin, that is, or Satoshis, below about 6.6 million Satoshis. And I do look for this one to fall back down towards 5.6 region. Long term though, monthly, I actually still kind of like this. Monthly RSI is getting back in the bullish control zone, it looks like. And quarterly, let's see what we got over here. Not really giving me too much with this, or at least not anything obvious. Maybe a bi-monthly, as that one just closed. Yeah, you know, backfill in the last bi-monthly open, then I actually would be looking for this one to give another trudge up towards 8.3 million Satoshis. So short term, however, on the daily, I do think that this one is short term down. I think this one does come likely back down towards that 7 million Satoshi region. We see extremely low BBWP right here. Let's see what stochastic momentum says for this one to see if it's on the same side or not, because that would make this a bit of an easier call. Yeah, 5-day stochastic momentum is downside as long as you're below about 7.5 million Satoshis. Daily is going to cross down below 7.27. So technically speaking, I'd like to see it actually close below there, and then I'd be looking for this one to likely come back down somewhere around 7.1 to 7 million even, and I'd be looking for bounces there. Again, it's probably gonna be sideways for a while if you're looking at the macro, and then long term actually would kind of be biased towards an upside resolution here. Just probably gonna take its time. Let's go check out Ethereum versus the dollar now and see where this one's at. Yep, this one is still within our overall range, and actually bouncing off of our range lows right there, our nice little blue box. So let me just move this back, and do I think that we bounce a little bit more from here? There might be one more spike, just slightly lower towards about 2650 or so, and I would be looking for a bounce. But do understand that you know, if that move were to occur, you probably do start to build up some drives of bullish evidence here on the daily. So my point is that if it does have another wick down like this, I do think it's closer to a bounce off of this region right here than not. Short term, I would actually call a pretty big, I'd actually even call like a medium-term reversal above about 2855 on a 4-hour closure, with targets up towards maybe even close to 3,000, or maybe even a little bit north of 3,000, somewhere around 3,000 basically, if that were to happen. Higher term timeframes, I still think that there's general downside risk though. So whether it bounces, you know, up around those targets whether it initiates those targets or not, I do still think that there's general downside risk here. Probably if it is going to find its lows in like a little bit more of a hopium way, similar to Bitcoin, probably somewhere around about 23 to 2400 bucks. Weekly, same thing as well. Yeah. Weekly RSI and 5-day RSI I'm not a big fan of, and I imagine that daily stochastic momentum is downside angle below about 2800, so that's kind of a big number for today. If you see closures below there, I would say continuation before any sort of even a short-term time frame bounce, and that would be around about 2650 or so, probably short-term time frame bounce there. But higher term time frames take over at that point, as the 5-day is still having heavy downside momentum. Also playing out a trend line regression from the last two macro highs, or I wouldn't say macro highs, but weekly highs. And that remains as long as you're below about 3,300. So higher term time frame still pressure down here. And I think generally speaking, Probably looking at something like this at best, and then maybe something maybe like that. That'd be kind of like the hopium, similar to Bitcoin. The doomium is that obviously, you break below about 2,300 and you see somewhere down around your June or your last summer lows, maybe even lower than that, towards like 1,400. But here's kind of the hopium. If I were to chart it as such, monthly, which also just closed recently, heavy downside momentum, but can still be looked at as a bit of more of a corrective signal here until that macro breakdown actually happens. So for right now, short-term timeframes, see what it can do before the FOMC letter. If you do see a closure above about 28.55, I would be looking for bounce first towards 29.50 to 3,000. But barring that, again, it's hard to make an analysis on most things today just because of that event over our heads. And there's no way for me to really know what they're going to do there. But generally speaking, I do think that there's more downside risk in the next few weeks than upside potential. Again, 3,000 is kind of my big area. So hopefully that was helpful, and there you go for Ethereum. Okay, cryptos and tokens. Says Kobe beef or New York State? Definitely Kobe beef, man. Holy fuck. It's got to be fatty, man. It's got to be fatty. Can you check out XDC USD on the weekly? Okay. XDC USD. Let's see. And you're looking at a weekly. Looks like positive momentum on the MACD. I actually don't really care too much about the MACD, but yeah, I do think that this one does have another try to the upside. Yeah, not great long term, but I feel like this is not the full picture. I feel like we've seen this somewhere else. Yeah, okay, here's KuCoin. Yeah, I think that this one actually does trade north of here, somewhere around about 7.25. Maybe even as much as 8 cents if things get really crazy. Other than that, I don't really have too much of analysis here, really. Maybe a 5-day will help. Yeah, probably is looking somewhere around about 7.5 to 8 cents or so. Long term, again, quite bearish below 10 cents, but doesn't mean that you can't rally pretty well here. And I mean, you got big volume spike on that next higher low. Regular bullish evidence come off the lows right there. Very low BBWP. Yeah, probably does try for some upside. That'll be completely invalidated below about 5.5 cents. But for right now, I actually would be looking for this one to try a little bit further north. Let's see. 4-hour chart looks like consolidation. No, 4-hour chart's trending right there, man. 4-hour chart's trending right there. Hidden bullish evidence. Volatility ticking up. I'm looking for this one to retest the highs of this rally. Somewhere around there. Cool. Adam Kalin is back. Says, been losing my money on long-term Kathy Wood stocks. Trying to use SARK to hedge. Thoughts on the daily? Okay. Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Okay, I'm guessing it's this one right here. It's been pretty fucking up only right there. Okay, so you're looking at it to hedge. I mean, generally speaking, I'm going to be bullish on this chart, but I do think that you are going to have a correction here relatively soon. Looking at daily RSI, it's building up many drops of bearish divergence here. If you see any sort of a daily closure in the next couple days here below about 57.60, I would be looking for this one to correct at minimum down to 54.5. Probably more realistically somewhere down around about 52, but long term it is still, massively macro bullish. The question is, where does it find this next sort of corrective pullback? Yeah, I think worst case scenario to the downside maybe like $50, but long term obviously, have to respect that as a nice strong trend. Let's see, could it be that it just breaks out from here? Possible, but it sounds like you're more interested in the higher term timeframes. If you're on the short term timeframes, I actually do think that it will bounce here first to like 61.60, and I will be wrong about a pullback first before another long-term continuation if you see a full hour closure above 62.85. At that point, I just look for continuation. It's going up, man. Let's see. Dato is back. He says, statistically, do you think a likely scenario is a Bitcoin rally up to 40 to 41 after Fed meeting today, then long-term move to 25 to 30 over the next 40 days? Hey, sweet, man. You're in Malaysia. Sweet. Yeah. Okay. So do I think that it's a likely scenario? I think it's definitely possible, man. Like for sure. It's like okay. I always have to be very careful when talking about like very long-term analysis because many different things happen, obviously. But basically, I don't think in terms like that as a trader. What I think in terms of is, where do I have an edge? I know that I have an edge at about 41-ish, give or take about $500 from that number. And I know that I have an edge at about 25 and obviously 30,000 lows as well. But I wouldn't just blindly say we're going to do this and that. That's my big issue with like Elliott wave and stuff. You're trying to do too much, and realistically, the market is unpredictable. To be quite frank with you, it is unpredictable. You can talk about statistics and probabilities, absolutely, but it is unpredictable, at least in my opinion. And that's where I think a lot of people kind of get that one wrong. Again, I can stand correct on that, obviously, but in this case, is that a possible route? Yes, and it would still be within the complete context of everything that we've kind of looked at, and doesn't really change anything for the higher term time frame. So, is it a likely scenario? It's a possible scenario that I think is worth considering, but I would not just blindly say that. I would say, hey, if you see today above about 39, especially. Then yeah, I do think that Bitcoin's probably going to trade up somewhere around 41,000. And I do think that would probably be a great place for another lower high. Other than that, to just blindly call a move from there to 25 or 30 is too much for me to do. So no, I wouldn't go as far to say that actually. Oops. What are you laughing at? What the fuck are you laughing at? No, I almost fell. Okay. Yeah, man. There's no way for me to say that. It's just that's where I have an edge as far as I'm concerned. But I would not just blindly call like another major move from that area without getting some sort of a tangible signal first. To be fair, though, if you are running off of this chart, or do I even have? Oh, I don't have it up anymore. That's secondary chart, the one with the Trollinger bands. Well, if you're running off of that, then yeah, downside risk is still greater, especially as long as you're below like 40, basically 41.5. So if you are running off of that, yes. That is to say, however, that it does get invalidated above that region. I think that's the more important thing. All right, cool. Justin Young says the journal feature is absolutely brilliant. Fucking amazing, man. I'm glad to hear that. Sanaz, hey, how's it going with you? Nice emoticon right there. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Hope everything's well in your side of the world. Let's see. Sam Frangosi says RMD on ASX. Okay. All right. Thank you for specifying the exchange as well. That's actually massively helpful. Oh my God. Holy mother of God, man. You've already kind of got the gap fill play in my opinion here, and it's already getting faded. Long term, I think that you're heading for this gap actually, $26 or so, somewhere around these lows is where I kind of be looking for long term. Daily 200 EMA opportunity or major top. I think you are looking at a major top here. I mean, I think that's very clear here. To be honest with you, I think that generally speaking, you're going to be finding, perhaps a low somewhere right around here. Until then, do you get short term rallies from where you're at? I would not feel comfortable saying that. I do think you get more downside continuation first before a potential bounce. I think at least somewhere around about 27 and a quarter, or 27.20, something like that. Maybe a short-term bounce there. Long-term, I do think that you find your way down towards 25 and a half to 24 and a half, somewhere in that pocket there. That's where I'd be looking for big bad bounces. Until then, until then, I don't really have anything else to say. Yeah, that's it. Again, another bear market rally to the 200 simple and reject. Heavily bearish as long as below there. Yep. Weekly, not daily. Yeah, I got you on that. Yeah, I do. Okay. I actually do not have a exponential on this one, but I do have a simple here, and I would generally be looking somewhere down around here. I'm gonna guess that that's where the 200 EMA is as well. That would be more long term, obviously. So they'll be bounced along the way, of course. Jay Header says AMP4 on daily bounce to 0.21, then retrace. Let's see. So I believe we hit the downside target on this one, like maybe it was this week or last week. Okay, so it's right on that 0.18 region. So bounce first. I mean, shit, man, like traditionally speaking, you're probably going to bounce around this region. And I should say that you probably, it's already kind of had its chance there, to be fair. I think I might be wrong about a bounce here, man, and this one just gets continuation. This is very, very weak. Very, very weak here. Long term, I do think somewhere between about 0.014 to maybe even as little as 0.012. I'm kind of inclined to say that this one, if it was going to bounce, you would have expected it kind of on this one right here. You didn't really get that. Still though, you would have potential regular bullish divergence if you do confirm a local low. So let's come up with an invalidation for that. That would be very specifically above 197 or 198. Let's just make it 195. That's easier to say. At that point, I would be looking for a bounce a little bit above your target, actually, somewhere around about 0.022. Maybe even as much as 0.023. But yeah, long-term one. This one looks pretty fucking ugly there. Yeah, barring any sort of like a bullish engulfing above last week's high, I'm looking significantly further down long-term. That is just fucking ugly right there. That is fucking ugly. Again, here's the real chart. Ugh. If you're looking at a 4 hour, again, I mean, I don't know how much bullish divergence matters on just a piece of garbage like this. But yeah, if it does play out short term, probably looking at 0.019. If things get really crazy, probably 0.02. If that starts to play out. Other than that, I don't really have too much for you there, man. The higher term timeframes feel a lot more confident on. I'd feel very confident on calling long-term continuation of the downside. The question is, do you get a bounce up somewhere around like 2 cents first? If you do close above and confirm this as a local low, which would be above about 0.185, then yes, I'd say bounce first, somewhere around those targets. What's up, Dread Binding? Hey man, all good. Sweet. For the past year and a half, all right. We got it. We got an OG now. Would you mind giving an example of setting target points when you're scalping on a 15-minute? It's impossible for me to do because there's a million different strategies for a 15-minute. So this is where I think a lot of people kind of misinterpret trading and technical analysis. Just because you're on a 15-minute doesn't mean that everyone's strategy is going to be the same. So there's no way for me to just say a blind answer. It depends. What are you using as your edge? And then from there, you can maybe come up with, something that's relevant. The most obvious answer would be just looking at 15-minute range plays. Obviously, you're going to be looking at, just, again, you wouldn't even be targeting range highs or range lows. What you're doing is you're playing the edge at the range highs or the range lows. That's, again, what people get really, really wrong when it comes to trading and technical analysis, and can really only hurt in my experience, because you'll be like anticipating a price to like do something. You're literally trying to predict, like forcing your opinion onto price action. That I do not think works. And I think that I generally, whenever I see people do that, including myself, it doesn't fucking work. Again, price action is unpredictable in my opinion. It's not random, but it is unpredictable. Anyways, and it's like if you're doing range plays, obviously it'd be much different if you're trading like RSI divergences, or much different if you're trading like the 15-minute jewel, or much different if you're trading, moving averages, for example. There's just no way for me to answer that without like an actual strategy. And even then, it's like, if you have a strategy, then your strategy should be telling you, right? But maybe I could offer up like a point of reference, like, hey, this might be a better thing or more relevant to you to be looking at. But other than that, man, no, the 15-minute has nothing to do with what you're targeting. It's the sources of edge that you are using within the context of your strategy that defines your target. Without that, you don't have a strategy. Nick Sand says Litecoin short term, especially if you go to Goblin Town. Okay, so you want like the Doomium analysis on it. I can always give you like a Doomium analysis, right? It's actually having a pretty good bounce there, all things considered, in the short term. Again, you're driving it. You're building up many drives of bullish divergence here. So if you do close today above the 2nd of May's high, which is 101.85, I'd be looking for a nice healthy bounce back up to like 108, maybe even 110. First, it'd still be another lower high. Long term, what are you doing right here, right? Well, you got a slew of lower highs. You got a slew of lower highs, and you got a slew of lower lows. You have a bit of a descending triangle right here, to be fair. So the Doomium is something like this, where you're going to break below that last low at like 95 or so. And then that would have an implied target somewhere down around about 65 to 69. Great number. Just curious what the weekly looks like. Yeah, I remember looking at this one, maybe it was earlier this week or last week, but whenever you're on the weekly 200 simple, like I've never had success shorting into that. Yes, at some point probably does break, but I never like to short into it. Personally speaking, if we're looking at a 4 hour, if this is short term to you, which maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. You didn't really specify. I would call a move up towards maybe even 110, somewhere around 105 to 110 first, if you do see a 4 hour closure even above about 101.5. So no, I actually, to be quite frank with you, I think that short-term upside may be a little more likely here. See what Bitcoin has, because we'd expect them to kind of be playing similarly to each other. Bitcoin actually doesn't even have the same sort of regular bullish divergence bacon here, but same sort of area, right? About 39,000, and then I do look for moves up north of 40,000 essentially. Yeah. The doom aim obviously is that you just shoot through right here, and then at that point you have to assume that the 200 symbol is going to break on the weekly, and I guess another 30% down or so. That would be the doomium. Wouldn't necessarily be short term though, but probably over the next month and a half if it were going to happen. HDGV says, sir, can you check out SIF chain? This one might not be on TradingView. SIF chain. It is on TradingView. Wait, I'm not spelling it properly. Let's try this. Okay, this is something. SIF chain. Oh God, Dex is Rowan. The best that we can do here is, oh, maybe you're talking about, no. Oh, it's trading against it. So yeah, I guess we can do, I have no fucking idea what the hell I'm looking at here, man. I don't know what the base pair is. I'm just going to go with Cosmos because that seems to be the most, that's just the first one, and that's the only other one that I actually even know. It's good. It's really fucking good versus Atom. I don't know if that means that it's going to be good versus the dollar, but if you're charting it versus Atom, it's looking pretty fucking good. I wouldn't have any targets with it. I do think you're going to see a short-term pullback somewhere down around like 0.0083, but or sorry, maybe even more towards 0.0075. But long-term, I actually expect new highs on this one. Again, do I trust this chart? Fuck no. Does this chart even trade? Barely. Fucking barely. Would I trust this analysis? Absolutely fucking not. Do I even know what the hell I'm looking at right here? No clue. Again, I don't even know if I'm charting this versus the pair that you want because it doesn't really seem to be on here. So this is the best that I can do. Maybe we try Sushi Swap. This is a completely different chart. So this would completely change the analysis. I would say I'd be looking for highs at 0.01 basically, and then send it back down. But again, I'm gonna default to, I don't think that what you're looking for is on TradingView. This thing seems to be like an extremely low market cap sort of thing, or extremely new. To me, I'm not gonna have a good analysis on that anyways. I do apologize. I know that that's maybe not what you want to hear, but I can't in good faith say anything about this. I don't know. Mr. Venegas says BICO on daily. Okay. BICO. BICO. All right. It's on Bybit. I guess they list fucking everything there, don't they? Let's try Binance. Okay, another shitcoin of a chart. 4 hour, please. I think Huobi is the best chart. Not currently in it, but is the 4 hour looking ready for a bounce? You're at pretty much your all-time lows, so typically you do get a pity bounce around there. You will be building up a few drives of bullish divergence, so if you do confirm a local low, which would be had with an hourly closure above 113.80, I would be looking for a short-term bounce somewhere around about 121-ish, and if things get really crazy, probably like 140. Yeah, and I actually do think that it is probably going to try for a bit of a bounce here. Probably does gun for like 110 or so. And then if you see that closure above there, I'd extend targets. But yeah, nothing much other than that. Did I say 140? I think I meant 114. I mean, you are getting a few higher lows right there, to be fair. So let's see, is it? Yeah, and it is building up bullish evidence right here. It's got 1, 2, 3 drives actually off the lows. Yeah, it could very easily hit 113 to 114. And if it closed above there, I'd actually extend it towards, 121. That's where I was getting that from. Okay. All right, cool. Greg Page says near 4 hour and daily. Okay. All right. And you're looking at low volatility, low Stokes, or Stokes high. Okay. Well, okay. 4 hour and a daily. Well, these are going to have different charts, of course. I mean, it came all the way down to that $10 target. Like, it might grind out the lows again, but I would be looking for bounce from this region. I think it's a lot more likely to bounce to like around $14 before any sort of potential major catastrophic breakdown. Let's just go reference over here. Daily. Oops, that's a monthly. That's not very helpful. Daily, yeah, showing a bit of a different look here. Will remain with upside momentum as long as above 10 and a quarter, basically. 4 hour. I honestly think that the 4 hour probably has a corrective move down, but the daily takes over after that and carries you a little bit higher. And you probably see somewhere around 13.5 to 14.25, something like that. 4 hour, like where would I expect to come down towards? I mean, maybe back down to 11.15. I don't really have a strong opinion on that. My strong opinion is on the daily here. If you start to see a daily, especially a daily closure above 12.5, I would really be looking for a move towards $14 before anything else. So short term, probably a little bit more of a pullback. I would only validate major downside continuation with a 4 hour closure below like 1080. Until then, I think you're a lot more likely to bounce off this region than have continuation to new lows. And if that were to happen, I guess I'd be looking at around 8.5 to 9 even. But again, I do think it's a little bit more likely to try for, it really wouldn't be asking too much to get a bit more of a bounce here. After maybe one more short, shallow move to the downside. Yeah, don't really feel too confident on that one. Let's see. What about the daily? Yeah, the daily is looking for a corrective signal here, so probably bounce within the current context of this trend. 4 hour is showing downside. Yes, I do agree with your synopsis, though. I do agree with your synopsis. So probably short term down. Just hope for a higher low. Anything above like 1050 is fine. Probably tries for another bounce. Echo ZN says BNBBTC on the 4 hour and daily. Okay. We got a Bitcoin pairing here. 4 hour and daily. Let's see what the daily looks like. Daily's actually fine. Oh, yeah, this is a Bitcoin pairing. I'm actually looking for this one to pop back up towards, what is this? 10, a little bit above 10. Basically your highs from middle of April. I'm not really bearish on this, especially as long as you're above about your lows from 28th of April. Yeah, not bad. Extremely low BBWP. So this move is baking here. You're looking at a 4 hour as well. 4 hour sideways and probably does test the downside maybe like one more time towards 0.01. But ultimately, again, I'd want to be mostly on record as saying I'm generally looking for this one to try back up towards its highs. I only invalidate this one as generally bullish until you close the daily below basically 0.01. Yeah. At that point, yeah, more likely to retest these highs. Let's see. Yeah, long term again holds its higher lows. Like, can't really hate it, I guess. But if you do start to see daily closures below that lower level, at that point, I'd actually be looking for this one to return all the way back down to your weekly lows here. Probably play out like a weekly range play. In fact, that would be pretty nasty, wouldn't it? Something like this. You know, where you come back down, blah, 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 and then something like that. Long term, it's actually pretty good. Actually pretty good long term, but that can take a long time. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, other than that, I really don't have a strong opinion on it. Again, if you do come back down below that region, that's where I have a strong opinion on it. Until then, I do think it's a little bit more likely to retest the highs before anything else. The highs of this rally, not like the ultimate highs, by the way. Okay, cool. Let's see. Hex. Hey, what's up, Hex Outlaw? It's been a while, man. Thanks for your top call on Hex. I was able to cash out enough to buy a small. Hey, nice, man. You got 200 acres in cat. Whoa, you're only 25. That's amazing, man. That's fucking amazing. That is so fucking cool, man. I'm really, really happy for you. You're a homeowner. You're 25. That's insane. That's amazing, man. That's fucking amazing. Hex USD. See where this one's at. I think actually last I looked at it, it was looking bullish, and yeah, I actually have to be bullish on this chart. I'd like to see a closure above the 200 simple here, and then I'd be looking for another move up towards like 22 to 23 cents. This one is actually good here. Same thing with the weekly. I think that this one's actually finding like a macro low here. So downside targets or any sort of continuation to further downside targets are, I think, nullified, at least for a while. I'd be looking for this one to trade up into the shallow 20s. See what the 5-day looks like. Yeah, still pretty damn decent here. Yeah, yeah, I think I might be calling a low here. I would invalidate that and validate a move below probably 10 cents if you do see like a 4 hour closure below 16 cents. But yeah, other than that, I think this might very well be a push through here. Yeah, technically you do want to see a closure above that region, but not bad. Yeah, not bad. I'm going to stick with that 22 cent call. Yeah. Let's see what the monthly looks like. Yeah. All right. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I think this one might have very well found its lows. Again, I only invalidate that one and not actually get mega bearish on it. Mega fucking bearish below about 16 cents. Until then, okay. Cool. Let's see. Crypto. Oh, no, sorry. It's faux motion. Can you check out S Fund, short and long term? Again, don't know what that means to you, but I'll try. S Fund is a crypto. Dear Lord. KuCoin or Gate. I think Gate.io might have more history. Fucking awful, man. Fucking awful. It's only ever gone down. It will probably only ever go down on any sort of respectable time frame. Extremely heavily, massively fucking bearish below 350. And that's like, and that wouldn't even be bullish to get back above there. It's just would call a great corrective bounce to like $4.50, which is a big fucking move on something like this. But this is garbage, man. This is just absolute fucking garbage. The only bounces I'd be expecting here are pity bounces, of which on a 4 hour, you might very well get short term to like $2.90 to $3. Possible, yes, but long term, very, very ugly. So to me, it's just like, where do you find the next lower high? If it bounces here, probably looking somewhere 350, at most 4.5. Long term, terrible, just fucking terrible. Maybe the worst chart of the day that we've seen. It's already below its all-time lows too. Typically you get a nice pity bounce there, and it actually did get a pity bounce there, but but it got faded real fucking fast too. That's not a good sign. Anyways, CryptoMo is next. Says DraftKings. What's their ticker? I don't know. DKNG. All right. I used to play it, man. I used to play this like when I lived in America. You actually can't play it if you live in Europe, just so you know. In more of a bouncy area than not. I'm sure that you're probably building up bullish divergence here. You are. That'll be fully confirmed with a weekly closure above $17 with targets up towards like 22 to 25 actually. If things really get crazy long term, 31 is where I'd be looking towards. Sounds like you're more focused on the higher term time frames, but yeah, daily and weekly building up bullish evidence there. I'd still want to see it confirmed, and that actually would be a pretty big move. If you're looking at a monthly, very, very ugly here. So makes me inclined to say that you probably don't see that one resolve to the upside. Probably does continue the downside first. The monthly levels are significantly lower, actually, somewhere around $11 to $12. That's where I really be looking for like the bounce, if you will, somewhere around these from basically two years ago. At that point, I look for bounce around there. But yeah, the monthly makes me consider that this is unlikely to put in a low here. It might trade up towards like $16, but I think that you probably have one more downside move first. Starting to lose its momentum for the downside, but it's not quite there just yet. And at that point, I just look for a corrective bounce. I think best it would do to the upside is maybe like $25 long term. Echo Zian says Matic. Yeah, Matic. We haven't looked at Matic in like 2 months. It must be. See what this one's looking like. Daily and weekly further breakdown and reassess at 90 cents. Again, pretty ugly here. It's like if we are going to look for bounces, it's probably just going to be corrective bounces. I think best to do to the upside is like 116 to 117 region. Just heavily bearish, especially as long as you're below like 130. So have to still kind of be looking lower. So is that 90 cent region relevant? Yeah, I'd say so. That's kind of where I'd be looking for. Between about 85 to 90 cents where I'd be looking for like on a big bounce. It's yeah, not great there. Yeah, monthly kind of tells it all as well. It's like, if you were to get a bounce up even to $1.25, it's just, just looking for lower highs, man. Just looking for lower highs. 4 hour time frame. Yeah, I would call a nice bounce above 112.30 with targets up to like 117. I think at most it would do $1.25. Yeah. Other than that, I don't really have anything else to say. If you're long term, I generally agree. You're probably looking somewhere down around there. If things really get nasty, more like 75 to 70 cents, which is where I would probably maybe be looking for like a macro low if it got there. This is a hell of a chart right there. There's a lot of room to the downside if it wants, but hopefully for its sake, it doesn't. Mr. Venegas is back. He's looking at Algo 4 hour. Got it. Yeah, this is another one that I don't think we've looked at in months as well. It used to be very popular in like October, I remember. And you're looking at a 4 hour. Okay, to me, it just had a pretty nasty rejection right there. traditionally play these like ranges, right? So in this case, you got your range highs at 73 and a quarter, and you got your short-term 4-hour range lows at 65 and a quarter. Technically, I do think that this one will probably break to the downside, but I would technically want to wait for a closure below about 65 cents. Even on an hourly, we'll do it. This one's already hit extremes twice on 4-hour BBWP. I'm inclined to say that, you know, you trade sideways here for a while, maybe test the upside again at 73, but higher term timeframes do make me consider that lower is a little bit more likely. Even we'll have another drive of hidden bearish divergence on a daily if you do reject here. So yeah, I'd be more careful with this one. Above 73 and a quarter, I would be looking for, you know, a move up somewhere around like low 80 cents, 80 to 83 would be okay. But I do think that's a little bit less likely. Yeah, fucking weird looking one right here though, man. Just died out of nowhere, basically. Yeah. Very hard to love below 73 and a quarter. But I do think that you might get another test somewhere around there, maybe. Short term, probably something like this. Maybe something like that. And then if you get rejected there, that would be the death sentence, in my opinion. Fully confirmed below about 65. There's the next lower high on the daily as well, if that would happen. Cool. I think we're at the end of the stream. We're an hour and 35 minutes into this one. I'll just read some of the chats here. And see what's up, and then we'll call it a day. Is new Batman worth watching? I haven't seen it. There's one more. Okay, I will wait. Oh, FXS. Okay, FXS, 4-hour and daily. Let's see. Having a good short-term move there. I think you could extend the short-term move a little bit more, maybe 29 or 29 to $30. Daily. Yeah, I actually think that this one does trade up from here. This one's found a major low. Yeah, actually, yeah, I do think that this one does try a little bit further north, somewhere around $30. If you're on a 4-hour, kind of same thing as well. I would even call like, yeah, go ahead. I'd even call like a macro low if you start to close dailies above $30 too. Well, that might be a bit premature, but I would call a continuation towards like 32 to 33. Pretty good chart long term as well. Well, it's not that long term. You only have about a year, but better than a lot of things that we've seen today, actually, and having a really good response here as well. So that is relative strength. I only get bearish below 22. Yeah, I only get bearish below 22. All right, Crypto Mo says Tesla monthly and weekly. Okay, TSLA. See where this one's at. Are they treating Mr. Musk nicely or not? Macro consolidation at the highs, so it's actually not like super bad yet, but I would say probably going to test the range lows next, which is around 780. If you're on a daily, okay, you don't care about a daily. Daily probably does bounce before that, back up somewhere around 1,000, but weekly, yeah, I generally think you're doing something like this. I actually am not bearish on it until you do start to close below 780 on a weekly. At that point, I do look for this one to come down big time, like big time. Something like this, between about 625 to 570. Until then, I think it's actually a little bit more likely to have like another short-term move to the upside here, maybe do something like that. And then if it's bullish, you'll see something like that. If it's bearish, you'll see something like that probably. But I actually would not be getting full-on bearish on it just yet. Let's see what the quarterly, or that's not a quarterly. That's a quarterly. That's a quarter of a week. Let's see. Where's my damn 3-month? God damn it! I did it again. I will pin your message. Let's see right here. Elon Musk, African American, amazing. Let's see. Let's pin that message. Quarterly does look pretty fucking toppy. So, for what it's worth, like if you do take out the lower end of that range, very likely going to come down very fucking hard. I'd be looking at 550, maybe even more over time too. I mean, this is going to have like this is going to have quarterly bearish divergence, so very likely for like low 500s if that happens. Yeah, I think that's a good place to leave it on that one. Echo Zian says Bitcoin Pizza Day coming up. Really? Holy shit, man. Dude, I heard an even crazier story here. So a few days ago, I was walking back home and I got stopped on the street and this guy recognized me and we started to get to chatting and he was finished. He had a really interesting story, but he was telling me about a friend that he knew who back in like, who knows when, this was probably like close to 10 years ago, maybe. He was telling me that his friend used Bitcoin to pay for his rent. And at the time, he paid something like 14,000 Bitcoins, 14,000 fucking Bitcoins, which probably like, it's too much money to count up right now. Anyways, so it's like now whenever I think of Bitcoin Pizza Day, I'm like, fuck, man, that's nothing. This guy just pissed out 14,000 Bitcoin. Yeah. But I bought plane tickets with crypto when it was trading at like $10,000. Not when it was trading for like $10 or $1. Anyways, have you or Elsa ever bought something with crypto? Yeah, plane tickets actually. You bought a dog with Ethereum? That's epic, man. That's super cool. It is really awesome though, because recently I've seen a lot more places, especially online, open up to crypto sort of payments. I don't know if there's like a catch with it. I haven't really tested it too much myself, but yeah, man. I mean, it's good to see. It's good to see that it's getting more adoption in that way. But a puppy, man, that's cool. That's super cool. That's nice. Nick Sand says, you also missed one of mine last stream. Weed the stock. You thought I was trolling. I don't blame you. Okay. So you were looking at Weed the stock. Okay. My apologies. So you're looking at this or you're looking at this? I'm guessing you're looking at Canopy. What time frames though? Jesus, man. Wow. This one's gotten beat up. Again, with these ones that have been beat up so much and they're like at these macro lows, in this case from 2017, you're building up many drives of bullish divergence on the weekly right here. Yeah, I think that you're more likely to bounce off this region. Do you maybe spike $6.50 a few more times? Possible, yes. I don't have strong opinions on that. My strong opinion is on you're probably going to initiate a greater bounce here. That'll be confirmed on next weekly local low, which is above about 860. I think very likely it trades north of $10 after that, somewhere between about 10.5 to maybe like 11.5. Above 11.5, and I extend targets drastically towards almost 15.5 basically. But yeah, long term, it's like, do I like this chart? Fuck no. But are you closer here to a bounce than not? Very likely yes. Very likely yes. Yeah, damn. That is just a straight knife down, man. That is just brutal. Daily is what kind of makes me consider that you might retest the lows a few more times, maybe even a slightly lower low as well. But I think this one's setting up for a bounce or closer to a bounce than not. Cool. All right. I think we are at the end of the stream. Don't know why everyone's bearish on Krown's hairline. Oh, dude, until you see like the bald part right here, then you start to realize it's not great, man. But I'm going to be getting a hair transplant in just about a month actually from today. It's cool. Or, well, maybe it's going to be cool. Who knows? Who knows what the fuck happens with that, man? Just reading some of the comments here. This is good stuff. African Crypto Warlords here. What's up, man? Sinegra wants to look at coin. Yeah, we'll end on this one, man. Coin's always interesting. Let's see what it's doing. I haven't checked it in like maybe a month. Well, straight knife down as well. Man, that's a fucking hard chart to love. If you see corrected bounce like 140, 150, I think that's where you probably find highs. But again, it's just like I can't be calling a low here as it is. 5-day probably looks for a corrected bounce relatively soon. I think maybe 140 to 150. Short-term time frames, maybe one more retest of lows and then a bounce. But I mean, this has been beat up to fucking shit. Jesus. That is pathetic, man. Absolutely pathetic. Alrighty, cool. I am going to be signing off now. I'm massively hungry, and Elsa is going to be waving to you in the background because she loves you today. She does not think that you're actually a peasant. It's just a bad attempt at humor. There's a little stuffed animal that... Whoa! Hey, just stop talking, for fuck's sake. Anyways, I'm going to be signing off now. I want to wish everyone well. Again, today's main event is probably going to supersede most of the analysis that we were looking at. So in my opinion, most wise to be looking at the higher term time frame levels. That's where, at least in my opinion, these sort of events can have a bit of an edge with. Yeah, it's right there. What are you talking about? Anyways, with that said, take care, everyone. Wishing you well as always, and see you hopefully soon.
Write it, code it, name it, tweet it, mine it, stack it, live it, dream it, post it, scan it, charge it, send it, do it, and receive it. Trade it, buy it, sell it, store it, run it, list it, first rename it. Crypto logic. Crypto logic. Pump it, hack it, lose it, dump it, sell it, ditch it, XR, pitch it, copy, paste it, nudge it, test it, build it, try it, bend it, fork it, hype it, pump it, dump it, rinse, repeat, but quick relocate, pause it, list it, send it, burn it, pump it, hack it, quick rename it, take it, take it, blend it, send it, swell it, sell it, flip, unflip it, see it, watch it, learn it, know it, post it, tweet it, and repeat it, chart it, long it, short it,